Shalom, shalom. Sorry to interrupt the learning. Thank you to the Talmidim for inviting me to say a couple of words. And Lahavdil, as the Masil Yesharim says, nothing I'll be saying tonight I think is a chidush. A lot of what I'm going to share, I think a lot of us know intuitively, but it's always important to do chazara. So at the very least, hopefully this will be chazara for everyone, myself included. I want to address the notion of understanding anava a bit better. What does anava mean, and how does that relate to the notion of Avas Yisrael? So one of my favorite stories I heard when I was younger, when I was a Talmud in the yeshiva, was the story of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. That there was a gvir, there was a man who made a lot of money in the States, made aliyah. When he made aliyah, he decided to devote his life to doing kiruv. So as many would do in Eretz Yisrael, he'd invite many, many people to his house on Shabbat. People were unaffiliated, people who weren't keeping halacha, people who were covered in tattoos, not wearing a kippah, not keeping kosher, not keeping Shabbat. And for many of them, their first experience with Shabbat was with this very rich man. And for years and years, this man would have hundreds of people over by him. And he was very successful in inspiring people to keep Torah mitzvahs. And as was the custom, he came from Eretz Yisrael to America. And of course, he had to visit the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Who better to go to about kiruv than the Lubavitcher Rebbe? So he comes to the Rebbe as a yechidus with the Rebbe. And the Rebbe says, what's your name? What do you do? How can I be helpful to you? And the man says, Baruch Hashem, I was successful in business. I made aliyah and I devoted my life to kiruv. And I'd love the Rebbe to give me a bracha to be matzliach in kiruv. So the Rebbe looks at him and says, no. The man's like, no? Like, you're the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Well, Chabad's all about kiruv. No? I should go back to investment banking? He goes, no, I won't give you a bracha for kiruv. So the man says, why? And he says, what does kiruv mean? Kiruv means to draw someone closer. Who's to say that you're closer to Kadosh Baruch Hu than that person is? I'll give you a bracha, la'afta recha kamocha. You should be matzliach in loving every single Jewish person. So that's a nice story. Okay, don't judge people, that's nice. But the truth is, think about it. Aren't some people closer and some people further from Ratzon Hashem? If someone's not keeping kosher, not keeping Shabbat, someone's got major sveikot and emunah, they're closer to Kadosh Baruch Hu than I am. So it's a little bit difficult. Related is something I always struggled with for a very long time, was understanding Moshe Rabbeinu and Moshe being the greatest Anav of all time. For me, when I think of Anivut, someone who's being humble, someone who's being meek, how can Moshe be humble and meek? He destroyed the greatest empire of the time. He saved Am Yisrael, millions of people, from slavery. He split the Yam Suf. He brought the Torah down to Am Yisrael. He went up to Shemayim multiple times, constantly. And he's an Anov. So one read, which I've heard some people suggest, is okay. He played it down. I'm not so great. I'm not just a tzaddik. I didn't accomplish too much. I'm not a great Navi. You're not a great Navi? Aspakalaya HaMe'ira? You saved Am Yisrael from slavery? You're not a great person? So I would suggest, I'd rather not say that Moshe Rabbeinu was delusional. That's difficult for me to say. I don't want to say that. So how could it be he really was an Anav despite everything that he accomplished? And I want to suggest possibly two solutions, two approaches to how Moshe could be an Anav despite accomplishing so much. So I think one answer comes from the writings of Rav Dessler. Rav Dessler famously discusses the notion of free will, of Bechira. That Bechira is the most fundamental thing, I would say, when it comes to understanding our purpose and our obligation in the world. Without Bechira, nothing gets off the ground. There's no schar v'onesh, there's no growth, there's no purpose. You have to have a notion of Bechira. And again, in common literature, it's a very, very big debate. How much Bechira do we have? There's nature, there's nurture, what neuroscience has to say about it, temperament, etc., etc. So Rav Dessler, I think famously, was way ahead of the curve and said, you know what? Maybe you may not have absolute Bechira in every single facet of what you do, but you absolutely have Bechira. And he says famously, it's in the Nakuda Bechira, you have a point of free will. The trick is, unfortunately, we don't know where that Nakuda is. It's very hard to know how much of what I'm doing is due to my circumstances, the brachas HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me, versus my actual avoda. And I would suggest that's maybe one approach to both the Rebbe's story and to Moshe Rabbeinu being an Anav, because despite all that you've accomplished, do you really know if it was your avoda, or was it a Kadosh Baruch Hu's gifts that Hashem gave to you? Moshe Rabbeinu was the son of Amram. Amram was the Gadol Ador. According to Chazal, he never sinned. His brother is Aaron. He before he was even born, when he's born, they saw that he was good. The room was full of light. He was born with the bris milah, whatever it might be. Even before he came out, we knew that he was special. How much of what he accomplished was his own avoda, or all the gifts that Kadosh Baruch Hu gave him? So that might be one way, is not necessarily to be in denial that you've accomplished a lot. You've been through Shas, tremendous. You could lie about being through Shas, or realize maybe this was a given my genetics, given my tremendous parents, my upbringing, my yeshiva. It's very, very hard to know how much is you and your accomplishments versus what HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave. That's one way maybe to still acknowledge all that you've accomplished, quote unquote you, but bear in mind, maybe it's not necessarily just you, maybe it's been a gift. I think that's also a way to understand the Rebbe's story, because you never really know where someone else's nukuda is. When I see somebody on the street, they're not wearing a kippah, seemingly not keeping halacha, do I know their background? Do they go to yeshiva or not? Do I know how their parents treated them? How their rebbeim treated them? How much trauma they might have had? You don't really know. To be very clear, it doesn't mean that, God forbid, chas v'shalom, halacha is it's a choice, yes or no. No, what it means is, given someone's circumstances, which we can never really know, it's hard for me to know, based on what I've been given and my gifts and that person's gifts, maybe where they're holding is better than where I should be. To give another analogy, related. NBA, a lot of guys, when they're not necessarily learning, they're watching the NBA. So again, my Talmidim and I argue this a lot. The greatest NBA player of all time, Michael Jordan. Yes, Michael Jordan, not LeBron James. That's how you know old school, new school. The ones who are older and know better, Michael Jordan is the greatest. So those of you who are not familiar, he won 6 championships, 2 three-peats. Imagine with Michael Jordan's genetics and his raw ability, he won 1 championship only. And you know that in reality, different timeline, different multiverse, he could have won 6. I would argue he really is a failure. If you could win 6 championships, for someone else, winning 1 championship is historic. For Michael Jordan, sorry, you came way, way short of your potential. So I think another approach to understand how you could be an unav despite accomplishing so much. Maybe you know where your Nakud Bechira is. Maybe you don't know what is your own accomplishment versus HaKadosh Baruch Hu giving you a gift. The greater your gifts, the greater the debt you have to the world, the greater your debt to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the greater your debt to Am Yisrael. One approach might be, which was not Moshe Rabbeinu's approach, I've accomplished so much, and that feeds your gaiva. I've aspakalai ha'me'ira. You're not even a Navi. Look at a lot of people in our tradition. Avram Avinu, a couple of parshas ago. He sees 3 randos walking around. Famously, he asked them, wash your feet. What does Rashi say? Wash their feet because maybe they had dust from Avodah Zarah. What's Avram's approach? Pagans. Nature worshippers. Want some barbecue? Come on over. Rabbi Yochanan from the Gemara. He's out and about. He sees a gangster. We know him as Rish Lakish. What does he say? You want to have a chavrusa with me? You want to marry my sister? I'm simplifying the story, but you all know the story. That wouldn't be my reaction. My reaction would be, you're a pagan. You literally are doing Avodah Zarah. Get lost. No, come into my house. Let's have some barbecue. That's the Avram approach. Yavar Yochanan. You went off the derech. You gave up halacha. Get lost. What do you mean? No, his approach is, come learn with me. And they become chavrusas for life, and he marries his sister. Rabbi Meir. Amazing Tana. Who was his Rebbe? His Rebbe was Acher. Famously in Chagiga, many of you learned the story, I'm sure. After Acher goes off the derech, on Shabbat, Acher's b'machal Shabbat, and Rabbi Meir's learning with him Torah. I would say, if anyone's an Apikaras, it's probably Acher. He entered the Pardes, cuts us Benetiot, goes off. Dude, leave him alone. Walk away. Don't let him rub off on you. Rabbi Meir is dragging him to one base medrash over and over and over. It's fascinating. So how could that be? So again, I already gave you a couple of approaches. First off, we don't know where someone is holding. We don't know where the Nakuda Bechira is. Number 2, if you are such an amazing person like Avraham, and like Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabbi Meir, maybe you have an achrayas to try to inspire those people around you. Have a chavrus with somebody who looks a little different than you? Or do you, I've been through Shas. I'm in the top share. too bad I'm associated with you. Now, God forbid, I'm not saying anyone in this room has that attitude. But if you do, I would suggest, is your limud leading to anava, or is your limud leading to gaiva? I would argue what made Moshe such an amazing anav is that it could have fed his gaiva, understandably, to be the most arrogant person ever because he did so much. But the reverse, he realized, if I've got so many amazing gifts, I've got Asbaklar HaMeira, I'm the greatest Navi of all time, I've destroyed Mitzrayim, I've saved Am Yisrael, and what does he do? Hashem says more than once, get rid of these people. And I think it's very understandable. You save these people, they go through 10 makos, you split the sea for them, you destroy their enemies, you give them man, you give them the Anei Kavod. What do they do? Egel Azav. What do they do? Korach. What do they do? We want some meat. What do you do? Who wants Eretz Yisrael? And over and over and over, Moshe advocates for them, no matter what, instead of cutting them off. He had plenty of reason to cut them off. He doesn't. He doesn't. Because his limud informed him to be an anav, to realize that if Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't do it, who's going to do it? So for all of us, myself included, if you want to know if your limud is really informing and transforming you, how's your Avos Yisrael? Is it making you more of a Baal Gaiva, God forbid, where you're looking down on others? Or is it making you know, I have an acharayis to the rest of you? You realize how amazing, how sweet Torah is? All of you in the room, to give the analogy earlier, you're all the Michael Jordans of Am Yisrael. But you're still in college. You haven't won the championships just yet. I don't want any of you to have those regrets where I coulda, woulda, shoulda done all these things. I went to Goldman Sachs. I stayed in my Dalet Amos. How often when you're out and someone comes to the base medrash, they look like they're a stranger, you say, hello? How's it going? Hey, you want to learn a little bit? 5 minutes. I'm not saying give up your whole Seder. You have to invest in yourselves at this stage in your life. I'm the first to say that. Invest right now in yourself. The investment you make now will give you tremendous dividends down the line. But how much of it is I-focused versus Am Yisrael focused? Avram Avinu, Moshe Rabbeinu, Rav Yochanan, Rav Meir. You can go through, it's not just, those are just a couple of examples. I've got 20 minutes, less than that, 5 minutes right now. A couple of examples, all of them made other focused. On the contrast to Moshe, we have Noach. So I saw something interesting, a question I had for a long time, which was solved. It's tremendous when you have something bothering you and you find an answer. So in Chazal, I occasionally refer to the Mabul as the Mei Noach. The Mei Noach, which sounds a little bit difficult. It's the waters of Noach. Noach caused the flood. So I mentioned earlier, we have Moshe on the one hand and Noach as foils a little bit. Moshe Rabbeinu advocates no matter what, constantly for Am Yisrael. Noach is tasked with making a teva. He built a teva for 120 years. But notice, Noach never advocates for the generation. He never davens for them. Avraham davens for Sodom. Moshe davens for Am Yisrael. Noach does not. And some say, and the Kedushas Levi says this explicitly, that in reality, Noach could have, would have, and should have davened for his generation. But his attitude was what I mentioned earlier, which to me is intuitive. They're Rishayim, they're terrible, they're evil. Let them go, let them drown. But he's critiqued for that. I saw, and again, it's worth sharing. I'm a Sephardi, I can get away with it, right? Everyone knows about Pardes. Sfard, right? The Sod comes first. So I'm a Sephardi. So the Ari gives an answer to understanding the Moshe Noach foil. So for years, I was struggling. If you go through the story a little bit, quick tangent. Moshe Rabbeinu has a very strange relationship with water his whole life. Before he's born, all the boys in his generation are being drowned. He's put in a little teva and he survives. He refused to do the first couple of makot because they're water related. He meets his wife by the water by a well. He splits the Yam Suf. His name comes, his name is coming from the fact you're safe from the water. His downfall is through Mei Meriva, which is water. I'm like, what's up with Moshe and water? I don't understand. So the Ari gives an answer, which is fascinating. The Ari says that Noach is in fact critiqued for not dying for his generation. The 120 years he was building the Teva to be an inspiration to the generation, to do tshuva, he didn't really take advantage of that. He wanted them to go down and to drown, and he had to be metakein that. And the way Noach was metakein that was being megalgel in Moshe. That's why Moshe lives for 120 years. That's why Moshe is a diehard advocate for Am Yisrael, no matter what. You want to blot out Am Yisrael? Blot me out of the Torah, no thank you. So for all of us, how much is our limud about us versus Am Yisrael? Are we less judgmental of other people because we realize, do I know their nukudah? Do I know what level they're at? It could very much well be that with all of the tremendous brachas you all have, you guys, again, I don't work for admissions. You're in the best yeshiva in the world. This is prepping you for life better than anywhere else you can be. You're in the center of the most important city in Chutz La'aretz in the world, at the best university in the world. Why? We're not woke. You can ask sharp questions. You can say what you want. Seriously, again, I don't work for admissions. You're in the best university, in the best yeshiva anywhere. But that means that you all are in debt. You all have a tremendous ability and responsibility to inspire Am Yisrael. And a simple way of doing that, as I mentioned before, and with this I'll close. When you see somebody who's not holding where you think they should be holding, they're not in your shir, they're not in your program, they don't even seem like they're being shomer halacha, do you look down on them? Oh, thank God that's not me. I'm a tzaddik. I learned, they don't learn. Too bad. I feel better now. Or do you feel an achrayus to them? They're our mishpacha. They're our family. How much are you missing when you don't realize how wonderful Shabbat is, how wonderful halacha is? Instead of me feeling superior, I feel broken that you're not having the sweetness that I'm having. It's a very different attitude. If you think you're so great and you're so wonderful, maybe you are. But that means you owe that much more, the same way Moshe Rabbeinu owes that much more. So with that, hopefully, when you learn hard, grow, achieve, master Torah, master Shas, be Baalei Musar. But how much is about your own ego? That you think that, I'm being makar of you because I'm so holy, I'm so close to Kadosh Baruch Hu. And how much is that I want to inspire you, I want to bring you closer. Avram saw a bunch of pagans and asked them to have a barbecue. Rav Yochanan asked for chavrus misar Rish Lakish. Rav Meir was learning Torah, it's explicit. With someone who's been Machal Shabbos, instead of saying you shegitz, you're Machal Shabbos throwing a rock, he ends up bringing the base medrash. Very different attitude. Very easy for all of us. Do I offer to learn with somebody? Do I offer to spend Shabbos with somebody who's different than me? Do I say hello when you're in the base medrash? Last story, and then I'll close. I have a Talmud who I met randomly right here in Gluck, in the elevator over here. This is about 10 years ago. Wasn't in my class. I saw him there, and I saw him in the elevator. I say, hey, how's it going? He's like, not so well. Just saying hello, we got into a whole conversation. He eventually joined my shir. Eventually, I became his Rebbe. I became his chassan teacher, became his Masader Kedushin. And since then, we've been in touch over the years. All from one hello in the elevator. You don't know how far something small really goes. Hopefully, Kadosh Baruch Hu should bless us, that our Torah should inform and transform us, should create more achdus within Am Yisrael, within the yeshiva, that we should have proper anava to realize as much as we accomplish, we owe that much more, and hopefully we can spread the beauty of our Torah and the beauty of our yeshiva to the rest of Am Yisrael.